Hi, it's Eric Martin. Today we're going to talk about courageous conversations. Now, it's true that we're all in this together. And yet it's also true that many of us spend most of our time in enclaves with people who look like us, who have the same values as us. So oftentimes we're thinking in terms of us and them. Now, the good news is that us and them doesn't have to mean us versus them. Instead, it can remind us that the person we're in conflict with probably has as much to teach us as we do them. So, this conversational technique of courageous conversations is a way to surface conflict in a way that generates new learning, new possibilities, and builds relationship. A lot of people think of courageous conversations as saying the hard stuff, giving people the bad news, often at the expense of the relationship. Other people avoid conflict at any cost and would rather avoid the hard issues to preserve the relationship. So with courageous conversations, we're asking you to do both, to surface the conflict, but to build and preserve the relationship. Now, there are 4 phases of a courageous conversation. The first phase is really around the question of who am I? We all wear multiple hats. I was reminded of this recently when I went grocery shopping and I ran into a neighbor. All of a sudden, got this vehement response. And I realized in that moment that what the neighbor was referring to was the other hat that I wear. Not Eric, the friendly neighbor, but Eric, the member of a shared services committee that's looking at how to merge services between our town and a neighboring town. So this question of who am I in the conversation is really critical. You wear multiple hats always. But for the purpose of a courageous conversation, it's important to know, how does the other person see you? Who are they imagining standing behind you as you start the conversation? And getting really clear up front, I'm here to talk about X. So think about the role that you're playing. The second thing is to be super clear in the conversation about, what are we really in conflict over? What is the problem? Now, oftentimes, problems are defined technically. That is, people define a problem to fit their own competence, to fit what they know how to do. So while it's difficult, it's important to remember, what are we really in conflict about? It's going to raise the heat. It's going to create some disequilibrium, but that's okay, because without a certain level of disequilibrium, you just get into the routine conversation, the downloading, the debating, things that don't really create change. This third phase of courageous conversations involves asking questions, being diagnostic, being curious about the values and the loyalties and the losses at risk for the person. This last part of the courageous conversation is what we call the ask. It's the question of, how do we move forward? Now, what makes a courageous conversation courageous is that it involves loss, it involves risk. You need to do things, step into the unknown together. And oftentimes it requires a change and adaptation on your part as well. So being very clear about, what are we asking of each other? What's the action? Not just the technical action that we know how to do, but an action that would help us learn more, if not about the solution, at least about the nature of the problem. And this is a really important part of the work. If you just are good at debating, getting clear about what the conflict is about, if you're just good at asking questions and getting curious, but you don't move to action, nothing's going to change. But it's a choice that we want to make together. Not sure what's going to happen from this, but we realize that the challenge, the adaptive challenge in front of us, involves that kind of risk, that kind of work together, and the learning that results. So you can imagine a courageous conversation take time. A courageous conversation doesn't happen in one call, in one meeting, in one episode. It's multi-episodic. Sometimes you have to spend a lot of time just getting to know each other. But sometimes it's worth spending a bit of time really trying to articulate the conflict, bringing data into the picture, trying to look at where's the real difference of opinion here, not papering it over. And of course, a lot of the relationship building that goes around asking diagnostic questions, getting curious about each other, getting to know each other, will take time as well. It also requires practice. The first time, it won't go so well. So this idea of courageous conversations is about holding tension. It's about holding tension creatively. It's not about inaction. It's not just about talk. decisions must be made, but they need to be made not from the impatience that comes with wanting quick technical results, or from the ignorance that it stems from ignoring differences of opinion. And it requires a genuine curiosity about each other, asking genuine, authentic questions. And in learning more about each other, it makes it that much less possible that we can't work with each other